The waters are murky, the temperatures are hot. The expectation that the great divide of the left and the right will soon tighten up is something I'm not very optimistic about. Outrage culture seems to determine the general attitude towards a situation and is setting a precedence for similar future situations. The extremes on both sides are somehow dictating our present. I've considered myself liberal for most of my life. However, due to the erratic, unstable, and ineffective ideologies that the left has adopted, I've distanced myself from association with the party. That doesn't mean that I'm Republican or on the right. But since when does fire with fire transform the smoke from black to white? The rationality and logic that I expect from the left seems to be lacking. No longer will we sit and have a conversation with somebody with opposing views. Instead, if you're a Trump supporter, you don't want them to speak or affiliate with you in any way. You delete people from your lives so easily. After all, they couldn't possibly be human beings. You kick them out of your restaurants and incite harassment if you see them in public. With no resolve in sight, I fear that the left's tactics have become not only unreasonable, but ineffective. And that's the issue. We have lost all compassion. We no longer see one another as human beings. We see each other as political parties, races, sexual orientations, and genders, Trump or Hillary supporters. The gap and division, and all of that exists in this country, is bigger than it has been in decades. We have to make a change. This is Hot Fuss, and I'm Andres. Let's meet our panel. To my right, we have animal and human rights activist and YouTube star, Luiz Silva.
Hey, thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
It's a pleasure. We also have independent artist Victor Zachary, who just released a single called Haunted Love, which can be found on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere online, basically. He's also the host of a podcast called The Arena, which talks about navigating sexuality and faith.
That's correct, yes.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being on Hot Fuss. I'm super stoked to have you guys here.
It's good to be here.
So, my fuss, I guess, is the division that we have in this country between the left and the right. It seems like if you don't care about, the other person's view, or if you don't relate to it, then you don't want to have anything to do with them. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? What are your thoughts?
I think my fear nowadays is exactly like you said, about the conversation between two people. They are not defending a common sense, trying to find a right thing to talk about, trying to get into a way to solve the problem, but it's always about fighting and trying to defend their parties. So that's the problem with it. We should stop dividing into teams and focus on solving the problem.
But how do you do that when you have such divisive, everything is, you're either a leftist or you're a right-wing conservative. And so if you can't relate to somebody, how do you reach that common ground? How do you say, hey, yeah, we have completely opposing views, but how do we just sit down at a table and have a conversation? How do you do that?
Well, I think honestly, by starting with yourself, myself, Luis, whoever is actually interested in sitting down and having a conversation instead of waiting for the other party to be the one or screaming and shouting like, this is what we should be doing. Somebody should actually just show what should be done. And I think,
an example.
Exactly. Just be the example. If you want to have that conversation, then sit down with somebody and see them as that human being, as you said.
Right. Today I watched a documentary called White Right, Meeting the Enemy. It's a documentary that Dia Khan, I hope I'm saying that right, did in 2017, where she was a Muslim and she went out and met the alt-right. These were white nationalists, neo-Nazi, people, white men in America. And she just wanted to sit down with them, have a conversation, and kind of get to know them and understand why they felt this way. And so it's funny because after getting to know her, they had extreme opinions about what to do with people who weren't white. After getting to know her, they were like, well, we know you now personally, we understand you. So don't you think that it's important to put a face to the left, the right, whatever it is that you believe in, to make it personal?
I'm sorry for jumping in, but it's basically what we talk. Hot Fuzz is an amazing platform to discuss about it. The first things that help to come down are the labels. And it's really hard because the historical thing, it's not something that just came up 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but we talk about immigration status, we talk about sexuality, we talk about gender, or white, black. All those things have to come down. We have to see each other as a person. Once those barriers come down, we can come to a common ground and talk about real things other than hair color, skin tone, gender, and all those things. Those are minor problems, and they should be seen as minor problems. Living in a world where we have wars, hunger, pollution, animal cruelty. So there are so many other things for us to focus on. We're just wasting our time looking at people, seeing labels other than seeing people.
Right.
And I think also we don't have to, but I think it might be necessary to also accept the very unfortunate reality that there's just going to be people out there who really do want to hold on to their prejudices, that even if they put a face to that particular issue or person or whatever, that they really do have that kind of aggression and sentiment or anti-sentiment against a particular group of people, whether it be gay or black or Jewish or any other issue or person that represents that topic or issue for you. So I think it's important to know that just because we might sit down and have these conversations with people doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change their minds or anything in particular of that nature. And I just say that because I think it helps going into that territory and into wanting to be. In other words, those of us who actually do want to do that, maybe we could help change the tide a bit for some.
If you can change the opinion of a white supremacist to accept somebody who's a Muslim as a friend, just by getting to know them, just by sitting with them, having them in your home, then you are able to, instead of seeing them as a Muslim, at the end he called her his friend. And so I think that you're able to actually put we're able to humanize one another. And instead of it being such we're political parties, we're religions, we're races, we're sexual orientations, instead of doing all of that, you're able to see the other person as human. And I want you to see me as human. Forget everything else. Everything else, let's just put it aside for one moment. Let's just sit next to one another, see that we have blood flowing through our bodies, and we are here in this country.
We bleed the same.
And we're able to have freedom of speech and say whatever it is that we want to say, regardless of how ridiculous it is. And I think that's super important, is to see each other, in that way. We just had Pride Month, Gay Pride Month, the month of June.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will, have, said their experiences online and everything. How was your guys' Pride experience?
Am I going first on
Mine
that?
Mine was amazing. It was my first Pride ever in the U.S. I do an event overseas every June. I've been doing it for 6 years. So I happened to be out of the country doing Pride Month, and not to kind of deviate the conversation, but the event that I do is basically talking about, it's an Indian retreat where we talk about seeing the other person as a soul, not as a body or a piece of meat itself. So
do you mean Indian as far as Native American, or like India?
From India.
Okay.
Yeah, last year we had 1,300 people in Brazil, and we talk. I organize it, so it's not me talking. No, we had actually, it was only 250 Brazilians. Everybody else, they were coming from Dubai, India, Houston. You name it, all over the world.
Wait, did you say Houston?
Houston, Texas, yeah.
He's like all these exotic places then in Houston.
You know what happens? I'm an event planner, so I planned their tickets and their flights, and so I knew exactly where they were coming from.
I know, I was just expecting to hear like around that region, and then all of a sudden it's like, and Houston.
But you know what happens? That's actually one of the, I wouldn't say funniest, but the most surprising thing, because we live in this bubble called California where we think it's a beautiful, picture-perfect place where everybody's a little more open-minded, acceptive with homosexuality, drugs, and all that. So, and then you see Houston, Texas. It's a super conservative state, and they're super okay talking about seeing beyond
But Houston,
than seeing inside.
yeah, Houston is like the Tucson of Arizona, where it's like the liberal,
Oh, 100%.
the one liberal place you can go to, the one refuge that people can go to can actually be themselves.
Yeah,
So.
but I've lived in Sao Paulo, San Francisco, Miami,
wow.
and Houston. Compared to other cities in Texas, they are far ahead. But compared to other cities in the country, they're struggling accepting a lot of differences. Not only about homosexuality, but so many others. But my point is, so this was my first time in the U.S. experiencing Pride, and we talked about that. My only Pride experience was back in Brazil, and they had 2.5 million people on the streets.
Wow.
So it's massive. And
Wow,
then
that's crazy.
you come to Pride in LA, which is also amazing, but it's a much smaller version of it.
I think
And it's
all
just
of the
so-
prides in LA, in America, are probably much smaller in comparison to that.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest in the
I
world,
think it's
right?
the largest. I think
I
so.
think it's the
right?
largest, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my Pride Month is interesting. I'm not one to usually go to like really, really big events and whatnot. But anyways, I found myself going to a couple of different ones, actually several different ones this past Pride Month, because one of my best friends, who's also a singer-songwriter, has been touring different events in different cities and singing and talking about his amazing connection with God and just how it's influenced him and trying to help, tear down the negativity between the gay world and the Christian world or evangelical world and whatnot. So,
A religious world in general.
Religious, yeah.
right.
There's really
So-
not any religion that will, clearly.
There's work to be
accept-
done, definitely. So, anyways, he just asked me if I wanted to come and share some thoughts in between his set, which was a great honor. So I was with him for 3 Prides. So I was with him for New Hope in Pennsylvania. It's just this small, beautiful little picturesque town. I was with him for Tulsa Pride in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then also in DC, which was the biggest of all of them. I didn't share there because there wasn't enough time, but yeah, so that's how I found it as someone who doesn't really attend Pride events and found myself at 3 across the country. So it was really interesting.
I grew up very religious as well. I was
Yeah.
Catholic, hardcore Catholic. I was an altar boy. I was a lector. I taught catechism. I went to Catholic school. The whole thing. My question to you is, because your podcast talks about navigating sexuality and your faith.
Yeah.
So I just, I know this is this could take hours to talk about, but how do you actually justify your sexuality and your faith? Like, how are you, Christian and a homosexual? I mean, I know it's obviously possible. There are scientists who are, Christian and scientists, so that's possible. But
Right.
I'm just curious about that because I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not a Christian anymore. So how do
Right.
you...
I think what I've learned in my own experience in all of this is that God has shown me in His way that it's not so much about what I do as much as who He is. And if I put the focus on Him and my heart is for Him and towards Him, He can work out everything else, whatever that might be. And I don't say that to mean, in case somebody's all like, so what do you mean? So He's going to work out, you not being gay anymore or something? I'm not saying that. I mean, it's possible and it's also possible not. In other words, it's not the focus. So what I have found is what I am to focus on, and the focus is on who He is and what He has accomplished through, sending His Son Christ, and, I don't go into like this whole like preaching sermon or anything like that, but that's what I found, because there was a time when I was really questioning and really asking, and very hard for me to come to terms with, what I was feeling, my attractions and everything, and still be this Christian. And I really just felt like God spoke to my heart. You say, well, how does He do that? But He just said, focus on me.
When I listen to everything that you said right now, to me it just sounds like you are just maybe a little mentally unstable. Like, and I mean that in the most respectful way, because
if it's even possible.
Right.
I'm saying that I'm just being
Let's
honest.
unpack that.
Let's unpack it for a moment. This
For
is
a
going to be a
moment.
show about religion, but
Yeah.
when you say God spoke to you, my immediate thought is you should maybe be, committed to Bellevue.
So the crazy thing and the beauty of religion or faith is the way it touches you. Because whatever you said right now on how you see what is sin or how you should live your life is completely different than what I think. Because I believe that it's not God who is going to make my actions right or wrong. It's whatever I make out of myself right here. So either if I am gay or if I'm black or whatever I am, I try just to always be the better person. That's why I always had a really hard time finding a religion, because I'm a go-getter and I ask questions, and I always do. And either I grew up Catholic. At some point, the questions were like, okay, yeah, we can't go any farther than this. And then science was colliding with religious, which is also, it's right there, it's science.
In your own head.
So science is science, it's there.
Right.
Dinosaurs are
No,
here.
but you're saying it's colliding.
You're
saying like
100%.
Okay.
So when I came across to this, we don't even say it's a religion, it's a science, the Indian classes that we took and all that, like I said, but it was thousands of people, most of them Indians, covered with their clothing, like long sleeve, and I freaked out in my first year. I'm covered with tattoos, I have finger tattoo, and I freaked out. A gay guy with tattoos, how are they gonna look at me? First question I said, do I need to wear a long sleeve? They were like, why? They're like, Luis, we don't see you. We are looking way beyond the persona. We look at yourself. That's what matters. It's not how you portray yourself. It's how you act and how you live your life. If you're a good person, you're a good person. They believe in karma account. Whatever you do here, either in this life or in another life,
because you're going to bring
the
the three-piece suit and fit all the perfect look on the outside, right?
Yeah.
You know what Western culture or any culture looks at and says, oh, it's such a nice young man, such a good, and you could have so much hatred and so much anger and so many other things going on inside of you that your soul is sick.
I don't really care about what you believe. What I really care about is how it affects policy. We heard Kristen Nielsen just talking about referencing Bible verses to cage Mexican illegal immigrants. And so to me, again, it doesn't matter what you say or what you believe in your personal life. What matters to me is how it affects policy. I feel that there should be a separation of church and state, even though there's really not, obviously. And it's not happening. So that's my whole fight with religion, is that it should not affect law and policy. But it does. It obviously does. If you're a religious person and you become the president of the United States, at the end of the day, you're not going to choose the betterment of the entire society. You're going to choose whatever you think God wants you to do. And that's my issue with it. That's always been my issue with religion.
Yeah, same here. That was one of the reasons why I left the group I was with in Texas. Not trying to bash Texas, I still love it. I still go back. I really do. But to me, it was really hard seeing people I loved going to church in the morning and hunting in the afternoon. How is that? I mean, it's so hardcore. It's so crazy. You're being a better person because you're in church or praying, and then in the afternoon you're getting your gun and you're going to your kids.
Right.
9, 8 years old and teaching them how to hunt deers.
You're a believer.
I 100%.
You believe in God.
And also, I believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Well, Jesus, listen.
I didn't get that this whole time.
No, he's a believer in Jesus Christ. But let me say, that's not the thing. I believe that Jesus Christ existed.
I'm just not voted.
You can't speak to any, scientist today or historian will tell you that Jesus Christ existed.
Yeah.
And that's part of history. It doesn't mean he was actually
but
the Son
issue,
of God.
My issue is with such huge blanket statements like that. If you ask any scientist, that's just not a valid
But it's
comment.
about being
Well, who are you supposed to ask?
What I mean is, you say any. That means literally of the
majority.
thousands.
The majority of scientists or historians.
Okay, so my question to you is...
But that's
today,
where you would have to give some evidence, right? Like earlier, well, it helps have evidence.
There is evidence.
Who are the ones that you've personally gone to that have refuted this?
Again, that comes to when you're looking at consensus, and that's what science is about. I mean, eventually...
Because there are a lot that actually would...
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you
confirm
believe
it.
the Earth is round or flat?
What does that matter?
I'm asking you a question.
I know, but there's something behind that. So
There
what does
is.
it matter?
Just answer the question and then I'll get to my point.
Get to the point.
No,
What
that's
do you
not how
actually
life
wanna know?
works.
So I have a better question then.
Okay.
Not better. I will not say better, but You were surprised when I said I believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I believe he existed. I'm just not devoted. He was enlightened, so according to what I believe. However, do you believe in Virgin Mary,
Yeah.
his mother?
Yeah.
Are you devoted to her?
He's not Catholic.
Exactly.
Right,
But,
no.
so you don't believe her. I
I
believe in her existence.
no, I believe in her existence. Of
So
course
told
do.
I about Jesus Christ.
Right.
So regardless of all of that, obviously we got a little bit off topic. You know, I still think you're fucking crazy, but that's okay. I love you regardless. The whole point of, you know,
He's
this,
talented. God
He's
was
very-
nice to him. He gave him the voice.
he is very talented.
And
I
him
will
the
say.
look. So see, there's a God.
Saying, yeah.
True. I just want to say that regardless of what your beliefs are, what your opinions are, what your stances are, you know, that we're able to sit here and have a conversation like adults and human beings without being savage. And that was my entire point to the first part of this segment, was that we should be able to sit with one another. And even though we have differences, you believe in magic and I believe in, you know, science. And who the fuck knows what you believe in?
Yeah.
I think you're confused as shit, but that's okay.
If you talked with me more, you would know that I believe in both.
Okay, well we will.
And if you both talk to me a little longer, you're gonna stop eating any kind of animal sources.
Oh
We're
yeah,
gonna love the animals.
we have a vegan. We have a vegan on our show.
Yeah, see, that's where my love stops.
Well,
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
or
Am
maybe
I?
that's where your love
Said
starts.
Jesus Christ never.
Yeah.
There is one thing that I want to talk about just to lighten it up a little bit. So we were talking before about gay relationships and dating, and
When were we talking about that?
before the segment.
Oh, I'm like during this
Someone's
segment.
wasted.
It's
You gotta-
water.
Oh,
You can
Obviously.
see
which
his,
Jesus turned into
his lipstick.
wine.
You can see his lipstick on the
Oh
glass,
yeah,
by the way.
right. Is that
It's a
lipstick?
natural shade.
Oh right.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, I just want to say I absolutely loathe dating. I think it's awful. I don't have the patience for it.
Why? Why is it awful?
That was the only reason why I came.
Because of dating?
No, because I thought I had a chance with you.
Oh!
But he hates it, so I'll leave.
I think, you know, there's all these
Just go
apps. Like,
straight
are you
for the
guys
regular.
are you guys on what apps are you guys on? Are you on any apps?
None.
He was on Spotify.
Oh, dating. What dating apps are you
Boom!
on?
Thank you for the
What
plug.
dating apps are you on?
Salesperson here.
I am not on any dating apps. They frustrate
Christian
the
Mingle?
heck out of me. No.
Oh.
First of all, I'm too bored to sit there and create an entire profile. I feel like if you like enough of what you see, you should just come and talk to me or let me talk with you and we can
It's
just
not
go
all
from
about
there.
what you see.
I've
It's
seen him on
about
Sugar Daddy. Yes.
what about there's got to be some, you know,
Apps just frustrate me.
yeah.
Because half of the time it takes another person to respond.
Lack
and
of
if
matching.
they don't,
It's a lack of matching. It's a
A
self-confidence.
lack of
thing.
imagination.
No,
a lack
He
of
doesn't have
matching.
match. Yeah.
okay,
Swipe right more, you picky bitch.
They're distracting and they really frustrate me. They're very annoying because even if you match, you still don't have the other person like talking to you.
Interacting?
They're not really interacting. And
So
I
how would
That
you
could be a problem that
rather?
happens to him.
How would you?
No,
rather-
I
I'm
have
just
to
kidding.
agree.
I'm totally kidding. I'm not even there.
Well, how would you rather meet somebody? Like, what are the alternatives? I mean, we're in 2018, so obviously dating on Tinder, on Grindr, on Bumble. I mean, I've heard of people meet on Facebook, which blows my mind.
I know, yeah.
How would you do it?
Well, for me personally, it's just I think it's what works with every person because I have just found that
What works for you? I'm asking you.
personally I'm just letting you know.
specifically. Oh well, get to the point,
trying to
bitch.
get there. I'm trying to get there. What works is just being in person. Just different
The organic
different
version
settings.
of it, organic
yeah.
way of it, like
So
Coffee shops, going shopping. I drive Uber, maybe a passenger. Moments like this, whatever. You just.
okay, Kelly Clarkson.
she's my favorite.
oh,
I love you now.
We digress. Okay.
How would you?
Yeah.
How do you meet people?
Well, I'm not the best person to talk about
He
it
just
because
stands there and they come to him. Come
no,
on.
that's not true. Actually, I don't know if I wish, but
You're putting him on a pedestal because he's got an awful personality.
Yes, I do. I'm horrible.
Well, he makes up for it in his looks.
yeah, I
apparently.
don't.
Which is what really matters.
I was basically being in a relationship for 11 years. So it was 5 years and then another 3 months break, and then
Wow.
another 5 years with a different person, another 4 months break, and then another year. So I've been single for 4 months now, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is the way people date now. There is no flirting. There is no figuring out if the other person is gay or not. You know, the little, oh, is he looking at me? Is he even gay, or is what's going on?
Is he even gay?
Yeah, because we don't know. I mean, on the app, if it is on the app, the person's gay because it is set up that way. But if you're at a coffee shop, like you're talking, and the guy passes by you, not everybody carries the gay card hanging on their neck, so you don't know. No, not true.
Los Angeles, Toronto, San Francisco. Chances are,
never know. You just never know.
You know,
I like the organic way of like flirting and
true.
changing eye contact. However, it's also frustrating how we live in such a fast-paced mode where people don't want to waste time on going on dates and finding out the preferences or how you look without your clothes. So there's way too many things that you have to go through to kind of be like, oh yeah, that person's ready for, the person's what I'm looking for. And that kind of completely breaks the magic of dating. So it's really frustrating. I don't like the whole menu thing where you can just see, oh, the person is top, bottom, and then some like naked pictures right there, or like just like almost everything showing. You're like, oh, there's nothing else. There's nothing else to find out. I mean, the excitement thing of it is gone. What else can you find out? Maybe
there's no courting, if there ever really was courting, even in our era, whatever, our generation. But
depends on where you grew up.
Yeah. But I mean, from like a while ago, the whole concept, you know, of like, I want to take this person's hand in marriage, and I'm going to court you, and blah blah. It's just like. And especially living in a city like Los Angeles is very difficult because you always feel like you can do better. You can do better. And I think
the grass is always greener on the other side.
Always greener on the other side.
I think we're probably about, all of us were around the same age-ish. Like, you guys are what, 20, 21?
Yeah.
Somewhere
I just turned 21.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's so pretty.
So I feel like we...
24. I'm a little older than you guys.
It's okay. You're technically dead in the gay world, but it's okay. At 24, you'll be fine. You'll meet someone.
I can't imagine what it'll be like when I'm like in my 40s.
You don't want to
Let's not talk about that. We'll plan your funeral later. But I mean, you know, one thing is, I think like what I'm hearing you say is that you want to be in like, you know, you want to be at Barnes and Noble, like both reaching out for the same self-help book, and like you just touch, and like, you know, it's like this magical thing, and I blame Disney for all that bullshit because I feel like it's fucking not true.
It's like, oh, you like Jeff Clarkson too?
Right. You don't see the stars and the unicorns around us right now? Yeah.
The thing that bothers me most about dating is the interview portion of dating. I think it's awful.
In person or on the apps?
No, when you actually get to the point, if you ever get to the point where you actually meet somebody in person, there's a whole interview portion.
You see, I find that the most entertaining.
You
like,
do.
Entertaining part
I think it's awful. I want to shoot myself in the face every fucking time.
I'm somewhere in between. I'm somewhere in between because yes, when it gets the same interview, like, oh, now I'm on a date, now I should ask like leading questions. And then at the same time, it is entertaining because it's like, well, I don't know this person. For me, I like if somehow you kind of already know the person because, I don't know, maybe...
You're introduced by a friend.
You're introduced by a friend, or
like
you found yourself in the same company. I wouldn't exactly say working together, but, you know, you sometime are in the same environment somehow, you know, and you just already you know the person. You know, it would be like if we dated or something, Andy. It's like, well, I know you. I mean, I don't know you.
Oh,
but
by the way,
you wouldn't date him because you don't know.
Well, no. Can I just tell you?
That's the interview.
To change this really quickly. I did date somebody, by the way, about a month and a half ago ish, who was Christian.
Okay.
And everything was going very, very well. We had a very strong connection until one day, and I love talking about politics and religion. When they always say don't talk about, you know, politics and religion on your first dates or whatever on dates.
But he has a whole show about it.
Well, kind of, yeah. But I mean, to me, it's like interesting because I can actually have a conversation with somebody and, you know, be okay at the end.
As you should, because if it is something important to you. So I've gotten from friends, like, you don't talk about being vegan on a first date, right? I was like, that's basically who I am, what I fight for. This is my essence. I am going to talk about it.
Right.
I hate the tips and pointers when they always give them.
No, it's like, if it's not cool with you, bye. I mean, that's what I do.
Exactly.
But when you start dating, that's who you're going to be carrying around.
Here's the question, though. Here's the point.
What happened with you?
Well, would you date somebody who eats meat?
I would, but if I go on a first date and it has happened, a first date and the person orders a piece of steak in front of me, I don't go back to them.
Really?
I think it's disrespectful because
If they know that you're vegan.
Well,
What if
they will know. My Instagram account is somewhat pretty active and it's right there first line.
But aren't
saying
you
who I
infringing
fight
on,
for.
on who they are?
What?
Aren't you infringing them and judging them for eating meat? What do you want them
No,
to eat?
but
Salad
you know,
like you?
No, I don't eat salad.
Or whatever. I don't know. I'm
I
sorry.
actually don't ever eat
I
salad.
should be educated on.
Yeah, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, for example, it's minimum.
I agree with you at this point because I mean, let's say they're allergic to broccoli and you order broccoli. It's like, dude,
You
I'm
don't
fucking
have-
allergic to
but you don't
broccoli.
have to
You
what I'm
order
eating.
broccoli on our goddamn first date?
But you
Like,
don't have to what I'm eating. It's like, for example, I will give an example.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it doesn't really work fairly, but if I know you are recovering from drinking, okay?
let me tell you, I'm not.
He
He's
isn't.
recovering from drinking
If you
water.
are, and I am really interested in you, I think you're an amazing person, you look good, I
Thank
would
you.
never order a cocktail in front of you. Being respectful, I would never.
But
Maybe.
that could send him down a dark path.
No,
because
I-
other people could have. Could do
Eating
it.
meat, would that send you on going on a
I
dark
think
path?
it's all being respectful. For example,
It is
within
respectful,
2 months,
sure.
2 months down the road, not saying you're going to change your personality or changing who you are, but you got a sense of that person and see if that person's going to open the windows and be like, it's
But-
okay, you can have a cocktail. But knowing that I fight for animal rights, animal cruelty, and you're going to have a freaking piece of bloody steak in front of me, you enjoy your meal.
The
but that's going
first,
to be
the
the only meal
first,
you're going to have
the
tonight.
first
You're
date,
not
I
gonna
agree
be-
with you. If it's the first date and the person like knows and they're
Yeah.
like full on bloody steak kind of a thing, yeah, that would be just
My
that would be
ex-boyfriend,
disrespectful.
our
Is
first
chicken
date,
okay?
on our first date, he was like, I picked an amazing restaurant for us. It was a full-on vegan restaurant. I didn't even know we were going to a vegan
That's
restaurant.
sweet. I will say that that's actually sweet. But doesn't this bring it back to the point of, where we are able to actually, just bringing it back to the whole point of, being able to sit down with somebody who has completely opposing views as you and just see that person as a human being versus seeing them as a vegan or someone who isn't a vegan or someone who's Christian or someone who's not a Christian.
Absolutely.
And it's being able to sit there and enjoy each other's time and enjoy, the company that you have in front of you. All this time, we everybody has an agenda. There's always an agenda. There's no problem with you being Christian. There's no problem with you being vegan. There's no problem with me not being vegan or Christian. But the fact that we can actually sit here and have a conversation, be friends, and actually talk about topics that matter and get to know one another and be human beings with each other, isn't that really what matters? I mean,
Yeah, but then there are certain extents. Like, for example, are you talking about being here, hanging out, talking? And we have different
What's
beliefs,
the end
religion, and
game?
vegan. But I'm talking about dating. It takes to a different level. Eventually, I want that date to
wait a
become-
minute. I thought this was a polyamorous date.
Yeah, that was what I thought so too.
Oh.
Okay, so I wasn't.
Victor?
Polyamor? Wait, what?
Victor, are you in?
Oh, wait, I'm still like 2 conversations behind.
Oh.
It's so much fun. that
Your water is
you
very
guys
strong.
can see. From, you guys can see from here down. We're just wearing t-shirt. This goes. No,
I mean,
but
that's the point, right?
Yeah, but
You're
sitting
welcome.
down and talking, it's fine. But taking as a date, and then when you go on a date, as myself, if I go on a date, I'm spending the time, we invest in the time, I want that to become something. And there's a difference between hanging out with friends that are non-vegan and going out on a date. Eventually, I want that person to be part of my life in a different level, knowing that the person doesn't respect my beliefs at all.
But how amazing would that be if you could actually start sharing your life with somebody who's not vegan and you are, and you just learn to accommodate each
My
other?
ex-boyfriend was born and raised in Buffalo, New York. So upstate, like eggs and bacon every
It's
morning.
like the very name of your city
With it-
offends me.
No.
Yeah. You're from Buffalo? Sorry, we're breaking up.
Within a month, vegetarian, because
Converted.
I never had to tell him anything. He would see the way I was eating,
So you the point.
my level of energy, the way that I was, like he was a runner and I would run, I would catch up with him, and
It is true though.
so all those things. He was like, "What have I
Meat
been
does
doing out
tend
of my
to
life?"
like, yeah.
So
Listen.
there were a lot of things that he started little by little. Our second date, well, guess what he had? A fish, and he asked me like, "Would you be okay?" Because first
That's
date,
not vegan.
not at all.
No.
No, our second date, like 2 weeks after we met. So
Weren't you upset that he killed a fish?
Not at all, because the first date we had, he took me to a vegan restaurant without me asking at all. So that was like extra points. And then on the second date, on the first date, he was like, I would love to take you to my favorite restaurant next. And then he said, would it be okay if I order a fish?
So the
Just by the
question
fact that he asked,
is, why is he your ex?
I was just gonna say that. So obviously that didn't work.
Because remember when you said,
He's like, thank God I'm back to stay.
last.
No, remember when you said, though, at some point tonight, you said, don't get involved with someone who you work with. And then I said, that's my life. We're working for the same, we were working for, well, we do, for the same company. And that was the issue. So that's the only reason why he's my ex. And I still love him.
Yeah, but you were together for 11 years.
No.
Oh, wait.
I've been in a relationship, like 3 different relationships for 11 years, but
Oh.
like 3 months in between. It was 5
It
years.
came across like you were in the
So-
same
right,
relationship.
No, but
right.
it was 5 years, then 3 months break, and then another boyfriend for 5 years.
3 months?
Yeah.
You move on quick.
I do, but they were good people. You would have kept them.
So the last relationship with the guy that you're talking about was for 5 years.
It was for 14 months. It was 5, and 14 months.
This isn't a kid. Why do you say it in that way?
Because it was over a year and less
I
than
feel
2.
like those people that have
I was like,
kids
here's a kid.
and they say their kid is 14 months.
Because
You're
it wasn't
like,
a year and it wasn't 2 years. It wasn't a year and a half. It was 14 months. So just take it. Just own it.
It goes.
Long story short.
Here's what I think the issue is also in our modern world is that people don't really take the time to sit down and get to know each other. And I think if and I know it kind of takes the fun out of being romantic, but if we came with our thoughts and questions and the things that were really important to us, like being vegan or maybe Christian or whatever the case is, then you could either eliminate certain individuals who are like, well, you're not for that. That's not what I'm looking for, and move on. Or at least you could sit down and you could talk about it. So much like how you're talking about the importance of what really matters, putting all these other things aside. Also, I think for dating, because people, they're not honest. Even if you look at profiles and whatnot, they're like, oh, it's so surface, like, I like hiking and I like moving. I'm like, who doesn't pretty much like about 50 of those things that you just put on?
Right.
You just give me a whole laundry list of things that you do, and I'm like, then you ask me what I like to do.
I will say, like, I find it very difficult to date people who don't drink, and I keep meeting them for some reason.
Wait, you find it difficult to be with somebody who doesn't drink?
Yes. Because if you can't have
Where
a
are
drink,
you meeting them? Are you going to AA meetings?
I'm not going to AA meetings for whatever reason. I meet these people who are just like, I don't drink because of whatever reason, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, we can hang out, and if we have a connection, that's great. I won't eliminate them because of that situation, but I kind of don't trust you. Like, if you're not able to just let go and have a drink, there's something wrong with you. And I
see, that's a value for him. If somebody doesn't show respect, at least on the first date, with the fact that he's a vegan, that's a value.
Yeah.
We have these values that oftentimes we know, and then we observe, and then when they come up, we're like, deal breaker. And I think sometimes it might be helpful to let people know from the beginning. But then it's awkward, obviously, to sit there and let people know that. Like,
the good thing about being gay is that 99.99% of gay guys
We're straightforward.
will drink. I mean, let's be honest.
And they're straightforward,
They
yes.
all drink. But that also brings me to the point that, again, I wouldn't kick you out of my
bed?
bed.
Okay.
That's just a
Figuratively
phrase. Yeah, I'm
speaking,
speaking
right.
figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to stop talking to you because of that. I'm not going to delete you off my Facebook or not sit down at a table and have a conversation with you. Even though we have opposing views, or even though you do something differently than I do, doesn't mean I'm not going to sit there and try to get to know you. And that's what I want people to know. And that works for dating, it works for religion, it works for politics, it works
And
in a lot
sometimes
of
it
different
kind of
aspects.
sucks because I have met amazing. No, I'm serious. I have met amazing people, but I am not talking about the looks and the shape. But to me, being active and working out, either if it's running, hiking, whatever that is really important. And I have met amazing people who were completely opponent to any kind of exercise. It didn't work for me.
Right.
I'm super active by 6:30 in the morning, even if it's on the weekend, 7 o'clock. I'm out. I don't want to be in bed. I want to go. You see, you roll your eyes. I would roll your eyes.
I didn't roll my eyes. I just said, ugh.
No, that's fine, and that's fine.
7 a.m. sounds
See,
awful.
that's a value.
I play volleyball. I play tennis. I love
Do
working
you
out and
sleep
all that
in
stuff.
on the weekends?
But I do not wake up at
But do you
7
sleep in
a.m.
like at 10 on the weekends?
Yeah,
It would never work out.
yeah.
I-
Well, that's okay. It can be a one-night thing.
Oh, that's true. Or
See,
one
and I'm
afternoon thing.
actually
Or a
okay
morning
with
thing.
either.
No,
I'm
I
okay
just said I'm not.
sometimes waking up like later, like last night was a long day. I felt really tired and spent being in the sun all day and whatnot, right?
Sounds so exhausting.
And so, it was. No, the
so
sun.
exhausting.
Look, remember, I'm 24. I'm a little older, so it's you know. So I tell myself I don't have anywhere to be super early, so I'll wake up whenever my body decides to wake up, which was I think around 8 or something.
Oh, that's perfect.
Or
That's
9.
good.
But if I have to wake up, you know, at 7 o'clock when I have done it, and I've done it plenty of times, it's nice actually because you can get things accomplished.
Even if you want to wake up at 7 and just get the poking thing and then like stay in bed until 9, it's fine.
what
But
thing?
like just you know what I mean? You
A
wake
fuck.
up at you wake up at 7
I
and then you
heard
start poking,
poking.
and then you're poking until 8 and then by 8 you start like being more active and by
Oh
9 you're out
God!
of
Can
bed.
I?
Can we turn the
I have
cameras
a-
off for a second?
I have a favor to ask of you. Please don't ever say that around me
Poking?
again.
I love poking.
That's
the morning.
That's like a
Poking.
Facebook poke.
Oh no, my poke is a lot stronger than that.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
It is. I mean,
His are penetrable.
have you ever been like in the morning you wake up?
Absolutely.
Isn't that
In
amazing?
the morning's the best, but my morning's like 11:30.
He's like, yeah, I agree. Whenever my morning is,
Right.
It might be 11:45,
Exactly.
might be noon. That's morning.
Oh my God! I feel like we have gone ridiculously off topic. This is crazy, but I just want to say that I've had a lot of fun tonight. Did you guys have fun?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Tonight?
I mean, wasn't our topic basically about wild animals?
Yeah, that was fun.
Wasn't this a vegan segment?
No, I think it was about UFOs.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it was politics at some point, and then we talked about
Christianity.
Shoes. It was shoes also. No, we didn't get shoes. Fashion. We did. Oh, I don't even
We didn't
remember.
talk about
Did we
fashion.
actually have
Oh,
topics?
it was about saving animals.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I.
You
don't
know what? We
think
pretty
you
much
guys-
covered all the topics that pertain to your panel.
That is true.
Talked about veganism. We talked about Christian things. We didn't really talk much about music or the song, but that's okay.
So, Victor Zachary has his song. It's called Haunted Love. You can find it everywhere, like we said before, online, Spotify, YouTube, wherever.
We'll post the links as you said.
We're going to post all of the links below. We're
Yes.
going to post Luiz Silva's YouTube links below as well. Please feel free to comment,
He
like.
cooks almost half naked. It's kind of
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go naked because I can't. Just because I could doesn't mean I should, right?
Right.
If he could, he
Right.
would, but
Oh,
he can't,
totally.
so.
Are you kidding me?
But we will be
Right.
posting all of these things on right below. So click and subscribe and like. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. I
Thank you for
really,
having
I
really.
always wanted to do that, even though I don't see anything here.
It's on the
I
left,
imagine
like,
that
It's weird
there.
that you don't see anything there. I'm a little scared of that. But maybe you should go to a doctor.
You're
and get that
so
checked.
cruel.
He doesn't poke.
No. Listen, I'm
But
Greek.
no, but seriously, thank you guys so much for
Okay.
being on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It was
I
a lot of
appreciate
fun.
it. It was a lot of fun. This is Hot Fuss. Please subscribe. I'm Andres. Till next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.